fantastic week and weekend. Okay, we're recording. So I wanted to jump in today and talk about passive narcissists. So this was a common theme throughout all the calls throughout this week. Maybe not all, but I want to say a vast majority. Either it was a boss, a friend, a family member, somebody that is currently in the lives of my clients or in the past, but I have seen these patterns happening for so long now, and I've been through them myself. So I wanted to kind of talk. Talking about narcissists is such a huge, broad topic that to try and condense that into 15 minutes would be outrageous. So I'm going to kind of continue this lesson in a different direction next week and try to get through just the one particular type of narcissist, the passive narcissist, which is very common for them to hang around. So my lips still look like a baboon's ass, by the way. I had them done the other day. They're very swollen. This is not the final look. Don't worry. Like, no shame in my game, though. I don't care. All right. So those of you who are familiar with narcissism, just typically, this might be a refresher, but those of you who don't, narcissists, if you have grown up with someone, this is the most common one I've seen. If you have grown up with someone where you just realize that you try talking to them and the punches don't land, like they just don't take what you're saying seriously. You've always felt like you're just yearning for their approval, but that they were very disappointed in you for no reason. All of these things, that's kind of what starts us thinking maybe you were in the presence of a narcissist throughout life. So here are some of the very classic signs. If you grew up with someone or you have someone in your life who could be easily triggered, short-tempered, especially if they're stressed about something else having nothing to do with you. So let's say you're just existing and you start up a conversation with them about, I don't know, some neighborhood you eventually want to live in one day, and for some reason they just lose their mind at you, or all of a sudden they hate you, they're so against you, just something weird. And you can't quite figure out why. Somebody who's narcissistic, for some reason, they will loop you into something you did to piss them off like that. And that's usually just because they're pissed about something else. So usually a parent or partner will make you feel like you have to be grateful that they're still with you, or that they are doing, this is the most important thing, that they are doing the most, I'm like mad I didn't even add that, hold on, because this is really important. Okay, so they will make you feel like you have to be grateful that they're still with you. Oh crap, where did that go just now? That was such a good train of thought. It'll come back eventually. But use silent treatment after lashing out so that you apologize to them, so that you go to them. They'll make you feel like you have to be so grateful for them to still be in your life that you, like, how could you be complaining? This is what I was going to say. They make you think the fundamental things they should be doing anyway are amazing. I hear it very, well, I'll be honest, I heard it very commonly growing up, that I wasn't ever able to complain about anything emotional, because my dad's favorite comeback was, I get up every day and I have to go to work, and I provide a roof over, this is very common, I provide a roof over your head and food on the table. But it would not be about something like a spoiled brat. It would be like you forgot to come to the parent-teacher thing that was planned. And, and then there would be using this lash out, like, well, you should be glad I do anything as a parent. That would be an example of, just because somebody's doing the bare minimum of what should be asked anyway. Like, I hear this with relationships a lot. He listens to me sometimes. Girl, don't set the bar there. That's a basic thing to do as a respectful human being, you know, or, oh, when I'm having a bad day, he rubs my shoulders or she rubs my shoulders. That's nice. I bet you got a lot of people who would like rub your shoulders if you asked them to. And I bet there's a lot of people out there who would rub your shoulders if you needed it. You know what I mean? So they try to inflate doing the absolute bare minimum while also making you feel you should be grateful that they're in your life. So once they're over a situation, you better be over that situation too. If you keep it going, if God forbid you still have raw emotion to work out, you're the problem. Never wrong, never accepting blame or fault, no remorse for hurting you because your actions caused it. So it's almost like if you ever look at this person, you're like, how could it not upset you to think that I'm very hurt by you? Like, how could it not, like, because we think about hurting the people we love and it like makes our stomach turn. So it's just like, it makes you stop and be like, am I nuts? Like, am I not understanding? You know, they are only remorseful for the fight happening. They're remorseful because it's an actual confrontation or something, but not remorseful for hurting you because your actions caused it. Because if you hadn't acted that way, if you hadn't brought that up, then they wouldn't have had to act that way. Which is gaslighting. They make you feel crazy. They make you feel absolutely nuts for thinking or feeling the way that you do, because you're just like, but how could it be that I'm so off base? And this person, I thought I was hurt by them. This is the next one. They freak out when you try to hold them accountable. You're like, I thought I was hurt. I've hurt this person so much. Like, I'm being such a bitch right now. You know, maybe it's my hormones. Maybe it's blah, blah, blah. If you have to start rationalizing why you feel the way you feel, yeah, sure, it could be a mood swing, but that doesn't mean that you don't have a right to feel how you feel. You know, their needs always matter more. They guilt you into feeling so bad you can't hold them accountable. You have it easier than them. You're not seeing their side because you must have ulterior motives. And then you try so hard to show them, no, there's no ulterior motives. I really am truly genuine. Keep you chasing. You're the one making the trouble. And if you could get over it, it wouldn't be happening. When things are good, they're great. You have that warmth. I can't not think of Frosted Flakes when I said it like that, but you have the support you want, that warmth that you've been craving, that attention. They're so charming. You guys are so compatible, or they're just such cool parents, you know? And then when they're bad, they're terrible. And typically, they're bad in the moments that you have to depend on them, or there may be some kind of sacrifice on their part for your betterment. So you grow up, and the thought of anybody sacrificing anything for your betterment makes your stomach turn. Carries on. Sorry, crazy dogs. Let's see. When they make you feel like they could leave at any moment, where let's say things have been great, and all of a sudden you guys, you know, there's a miscommunication or something, and all of a sudden it's like, what happened? I thought things were great. They're acting like it's been so bad for so long. You're always like this. You take things too serious. You never get over things. You're pushing me away. They say all the emotionally charged trigger responses that make you think like, oh my God, but I don't want to push them. I don't want them to leave. So, they will, let's see, they're wounded. They're usually wounded. They have a past. They grew up in a bad home. They have some kind of trauma that they've never sorted out. And they need you to understand more. I'll give you an example. I dated this absolute narcissist bastard who, now looking back, he wasn't attractive. He really had no redeemable qualities, couldn't hold the job down. And I was really unattractive. But anyway, I do know why I was so fixated on excusing him. And it was because he was wounded. He lost his father in a very, very terrible battle with brain cancer. He, you know, would talk to me about how it changed him as a person to see someone go through that and be helpless. All of these things that, I mean, you guys know me by now, I'm mush. So if I hear this, and back in the day I didn't respect myself at all, I would just be like, oh my God, it is now my quest to put aside how I feel and make this person who shouldn't be dating anybody, honestly, make him care about me. And I need to nurture him and be understanding. And it was such a trap. It's a trap. And we're going way over the 15, but I'm sorry. I love talking about this stuff. So I put aside so much stuff. The basic things to require from a boyfriend, I didn't expect them. And when, I was upset it was my fault. It was just terrible because he was wounded. I wanted to help him see and help him get through that and become what I saw him he could be. And at the end of the day, I think it was more just about me getting somebody to care about me that would give me a little bit to let me see they care and then back off. So they will not agree to follow through with requests for them to seek therapy because they won't usually admit that either A, they even need help, or B, that anyone can even help them if they can't help themselves. Because at their core, narcissists feel they're the best version of themselves. And that if anyone expects anything differently, it's their problem. They usually will be offended and either get very upset with you or just completely dismissive about therapy, or they'll just yes you and they'll just be like, yeah, I'll go, okay. And it just never happens, depending on where they're at in their anger and how bad they want the fight to be over. So passive narcissists. Now keep in mind, I love hearing feedback. I don't have the chat open here, but I haven't seen any chat notifications. As you're hearing this, how many times have you encountered somebody in your life that's similar to this? Or if you've had a friend who has had a relationship like this and you're like, holy shit, that's literally it. Let's share some narcissist experiences that we've been through, because I think the most important thing about getting over narcissistic abuse from any degree, whether they're outright or passive, is to understand that nothing you're feeling is weird. Everything you're feeling, when you deal with the narcissist, they make you question what you have a right to think and feel so much that hearing from other people similar stories is a saving grace. Because you can hear, when we tell our friends advice, we have a harder time taking that advice ourselves. It's just everybody is that way. So here, let's get some stories going. They don't have to be in depth and crazy. Go as deep as you want. But what from this is touching home for you guys? What is really making an impact here? Okay, passive narcissists, as you guys are writing that out in the chat, passive narcissists are not typically outright mean or seemingly abusive. Very common for these to be parents. And that can be abusive as a parent or not, I'm trying to be respectful to the fact that I do have a good relationship with my mom now. I mean, a lot of that has to do with what we'll talk about on Wednesday's lesson. But yeah, it took me a long time and a lot of therapy to even admit that my mom was abusive growing up. And that is because it wasn't my idea of abuse. It wasn't like, she wasn't just beating the shit out of me every day for no reason or whatever. I mean, even that sounds like a victim of abuse saying that, no reason. But it was, she was abusive, and the narcissistic qualities, like going between this, she's evil and she is the best and I want her to love me, like that really made it very difficult to distinguish what's narcissism or not. Because when she wasn't being, physical or violent or anything, there was now I know looking back, it was passive narcissism, but I just couldn't trust myself to slap the label of abuse on it because it didn't make any sense to me. It wasn't that it was all bad, So passive narcissism, hold on, I'm losing my voice. Usually a family member, can be a boss, a condescending asshole boss. A friend that you have history with, so you keep them around a lot longer than you feel fulfilled to keep them around by. Partner, of course, a teacher, anybody of a higher authoritative figure, whatever, it gets kind of a complex about them. Usually people around them will not notice or be as upset as you. That is the hardest part, is passive narcissists are like passive aggressive comments. So you feel it that they're being narcissistic. You can sense it. You can see their behaviors and their patterns. But to the people who aren't on the receiving end of it, it might be that there's a shadow of a doubt on, yeah, but I don't know. Maybe they're not that way. It could be other people would be like, maybe you're just taking it to heart. Maybe you're just too sensitive. That phrase, I will literally just walk out of a room if I'm with anybody. If I'm with anybody and they look at me and go, you're being too sensitive, conversation is over. I'm immediately exiting from the conversation, because I think that that's one of the most disrespectful things you could tell someone who's upset, So anyway, they simply know what's best, or they're looking out, or they're old school, or they're being honest. These are all excuses for mistreatment. They act extremely hurt and pained when you hold them accountable, because they love you and they would never want you to misunderstand their intentions. So then in turn, it makes you feel like the most colossal piece of shit, because now you have completely misunderstood, you got way too sensitive, and you've hurt this poor person who loves you. What a monster you are. Notice how it's never about them and their actions when that's the case. They don't acknowledge your accomplishments at all or very highly. But if you hold them to that, you're ungrateful. So if you say, it's very common for narcissists to play favorites with children. That is a very, very big thing. There's one kid that it might not all be all good, all bad, but there is this sense of they got it right with one and the other one is difficult. And I'm the difficult one. Whoop, whoop. I am, but it's okay. It's in a good way. So, they might say, celebrate the fact that they're taking my sister to look at colleges. But if I say, you never wanted to go to check out colleges with me, do you remember anything nice about us? We looked at some of the books. You didn't seem interested in it. You didn't care all that much about college. Flipped it right back. So, if you get an accomplishment, like I went to culinary school, it was like, well, yeah, you don't get a college graduation present because you didn't get through college, but we're happy for you that you graduated culinary school. By the way, they totally ended up getting me the pink KitchenAid mixer that I wanted when I graduated culinary school. But that's what I mean is it's not that they're truly really terrible. Their immediate reaction is to be narcissistic like that. And upon pushing, if you have the energy to, they usually are just like, okay. So it makes it really hard to hold them accountable, because then you just feel like an asshole for pushing them. You want them to just do it on their own. Okay. So, usually will not agree to seek therapy. I wrote possibly here, but I'm going to say every single time. They will be offended. If you bring up therapy, they will take it as you're telling them they're crazy and that they need to do work and get better. And that will just make them think like, who does she think she is? And because they're narcissistic. They're just not full on narcissists. They're passive narcissists. So to them, it's this giant conspiracy to be misunderstood and nobody ever appreciate them enough, when really they just never want to be held accountable for not getting better and not doing things that are upsetting you. So I know I talked a shit ton and I went on blast. I didn't mean for this to be like, let's blast the exes and the parents, but how common are some of these things to hear and see? How common is it to have to just chalk it up to and again, I said, I still talk, my parents were visiting today, full on narcissistic, but still visiting, so there is a way to understand your boundaries and accept the relationship that's possible and decide for yourself if that's okay with you to have that kind of relationship. Because if it's not, the hard part is in distancing, because you still deserve to have only the people around you who make you feel whole and loved and good enough. But getting to that point even thinking of that means you have to trust implicitly that your reactions, your emotions, everything you're feeling are not exaggerations. And when you grow up or you're in a long-term relationship with somebody who continues to make you question if you have a right to feel the way you do, or if you're just not seeing something, That is really, really hard to get to the point where you have your own back and you assert those boundaries. So I unloaded a big spiel, but the lesson on Wednesday is going to be, stop being so afraid to be intense. Continue actually loving yourself. And to do that, you need to stop trying to water yourself down because something about you doesn't vibe with somebody else. There are people in this world, and it doesn't matter if you're dating, if you're married, if you're related, whatever, there are people who will not ever vibe. They will not mesh. I trust that if you're married or you're with someone for a very long time, that it's maybe you're figuring out if you mesh or you 100% know, but you can't change yourself to suit somebody else and think that that will get you the love you want, because it doesn't. And also, you shouldn't have to, because there are plenty of people in this world who would value your presence exactly as you are and not require you to strive to be acceptable to them. This is one of my favorite things. I had a conversation with one of my girls this week, and I love me some analogies. So I was talking, it's almost like, this has a lot to do with like you're too sensitive thing, but if you're in a crowded room that is on fire and you're the only one worried, you're the only one running around going like, holy shit, the room's on fire, we got to get out of here, what are we doing? And everyone around you is like, calm down, why are you so freaked out? Like, you're really exaggerating. You should probably think positively, like deep breathe, happy thoughts. Have you tried journaling? Like, you're going to be like, what are you talking about? The room's on fire. You're not the problem, because you're the only one in the room seeing it on fire. And you're saying that doesn't make you the problem. It makes the rest of everybody else in a burning ass room. The narcs and the enablers around you, those are the problem. The people who would rather just be like, can't you just ignore her, than to have your back when you're raw and you're hurting, or those are really important. And if you are surrounded by those people, then you need to understand that is why you feel so out of your skin around those people, is because in your head you're right, or at least you're not exaggerating. It's just other people aren't doing with that what you wish they would. And because they're your partner, your parents, somebody you care about, it's hard to accept that they don't see that. And one last thing, doesn't mean you're a bad person if you're a narcissist. It just means that having relationships with you is really tough. Okay. So it said I had 5 notifications up here, but okay. So come on, keep these comments coming, guys. I want to hear what stuck out to you. I talked for like 30 minutes straight. I feel like coming up for air. What connected with you? Talk to me a little bit. What are you feeling? My mom got mad at me for canceling all the showings of the house today because I'm sick, and said I should have sat in the car. She's still abusive, almost 30. She'll also hang up on me when I'm upset, or tells me she doesn't want to deal with me. Absolutely. I have 100% been there. Let me ask you a question. If she was sick and you called her and wanted her to inconvenience herself to go stay in the car, for, I guess, hours, right? Because you had showings at the house, to go stay in the car, and you said to her, you should just do this for me, and she was sick, I'm sure she'd lose it, right? How selfish of you. Yep, it's hard. Still in the process of letting myself believe that I was raised by narcissists. Everything you said describes my life, but it's so hard not to blame ourselves. Exactly. I'm so tired of watering myself down. Just because you're not everyone's cup of tea doesn't mean you're bad tea. It just means not everybody has a palate for your type of tea. That's it. And now we're born into families, so we're thinking, but they're my built-in people. Like, they should understand me, love me, be, like, I should be their cup of tea. They're my family. And at the end of the day, your family, in your heart, I mean, hell, Lindsay, I know your family loves you. That doesn't mean they aren't narcissists. It's really, really hard. It's really hard. And it usually means we're the ones that are hurt more, So, okay. If I had a dime for every time I heard you're too sensitive or you're acting crazy, I could retire. It makes me so, have a visceral reaction when somebody says to me, you're so sensitive, or like, you know, like, why are you acting crazy? Like, you know, you're being too much. Oh, you thought that was too much? I'm gonna go. No, I'm just kidding. I don't get crazy anymore. I was doxxed by a narcissist who was using me as his wingman so he could be a good guy, but was in fact cheating on several women unbeknownst to me. So when I figured it out, he lost it, and I lost a very big group of friends. I'm sorry, but that's very common when there's the outlier that does something or stands up against, you know, the narcissist. There's usually, you're not the only one being targeted by this narcissistic person in some capacity. Usually, like when friend situations, and this has happened with a lot of clients. I had one client who was very, very loyal to a certain gym, and her community was basically that gym. And there was one narcissist that ran the whole little clique, the whole little group. And if you stood up against that person in charge of the whole little group, then you were the outcast. And it was like high school, you know? And it's people who can stomach not holding someone accountable who's doing stuff like that. Like, you don't want to hang out with them, but it's still not saying that that shouldn't sting. That sucks, but people sometimes suck. We're all in therapy for the people who won't get therapy. I am certain of it. So when it's their actions, they're causing the sensitivity. Yeah, absolutely. I also worked for a narcissist who hired me for my very unique skills. And when she thought I was getting too much attention for my good work, that she ended up forcing me into medical leave, then leaving because the stress was too much. Insecure people. But let that show you how incredible you are. It sucks that that happened. It sucks that it's set a trajectory after the fact. But at the end of the day, this person who hired you felt so threatened by you that she had to sabotage you. It's the only way she could feel good about herself. That says a lot. That means that you are the powerful one. Even if them as the narcissist bank on making you think they're the powerful one. That makes sense. I know that's pretty lofty, but doesn't help. I mean, that sucks. Like, I would have wanted to burn the place down. But all right, so this was kind of good, kind of cathartic, get the conversation started. I see narcissistic patterns in the people that I work with in terms of somebody in their life being narcissistic to some degree. Every single one of you guys at some point, usually. I don't want to say 100% because in my luck, the one or two people in here will be like, not me. But I want you to take from this the confidence that you need to be okay with how you're feeling, to talk to somebody, whether it's me, whether it's a therapist, talk to somebody unbiased who, and while I love you guys, you know, for your sake, I will be unbiased, but seek out help when you're thinking this and you're sitting there racking your brain on, do I have a right to be upset? Stop asking yourself that question. Seek out help if you don't know that answer right away. Okay. And if you guys need anything, if this very quick and deep talk has dredged up stuff, I will be on till about 10 to 11 tonight. And then tomorrow I'll answer any messages that I can't get to, but I want you to text me when it's happening, when you're upset. It gives us a lot to work with. Okay. So love you all. Screw the narcissists. Well, not like literally, but you know. And if you need anything, I'm always here for you. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. Go crush it this week. And I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.